I'm sorry we can't meet today, but I did want to send you a couple of ideas that I came up with. When you are, so I'm guessing that we're looking at like issues with equity in like how rape is addressed, maybe investigated, maybe treated in like a hospital or something like that, and all sorts of issues related to equity. And so I looked on another screen, and there's a whole bunch of different things that we can approach. And so I want to show you how you can take the ideas that you got from the interview that you did, and maybe you can look for some of those issues in a focused search. So let me show you how I would do that. So we have to find evidence-based scholarly information. No problem. If you have a specific methodology, do you have to find like a randomized control trial or something like that? I'll show you how to do that too. I think I will. We'll see if I can remember throughout this video. I'm just like, I don't know why I feel bad. But I think it might be that all the heaters are turning on today and there's like dust in the air. That's my guess because it's so cold. First of all, since we have the keywords rape recovery, we don't have to do center, it's kind of inferred. You can look in the library catalog and just get ideas and see if there's something else going on. There's not a lot going on. But you can see there's like a handbook that somebody came up with from like 20 years ago. So maybe it's like recovery. So we can start to learn ideas just by looking at what we find. So I'm going to do rape and recovery. So it's not looking for those two words stuck together, but it's looking for these words kind of related to each other. And all of a sudden, there's like thousands more results. So you can do different searches like this and see if there's like books. So now there's 133, rape and recovery. So if you had to look at history, this is an awful topic to look at, but try and be as objective as possible, as if you were like a doctor or a scholar, which you are. But some of these are really awful to look at, and some of them might be horribly out of date and insensitive, and that's where we might be able to find some of the critical issues in the history level. These are not scholarly, though. Well, maybe they are. University of Chicago Press. But that looks like it's more of like a, I don't know. So this is like background knowledge. You can also use Gemini or just the open web and look for issues with it. But let me show you how to find the scholarly stuff. So under databases, I've probably shown you a couple of these, but let's go to the research guide and I'll show you everything that I've got in social work. And suddenly I'm writing in all caps. And from this one, let's go to PhD and Master's Help. It's my favorite one. So validating keywords and figuring out what people are talking about might have come from your interview, but you can also go to like newspapers and Congressional Quarterly, so see what people are legislating about. But again, those aren't scholarly. That's just looking for more keywords. I think the open web and AI are pretty good at that. These are the discipline-specific research databases that are the same thing as the databases right here. But these are my favorite. So sociological abstracts. This one looks at it as a societal whole. So it's looking at different cultures and communities. So populations like that have an immigrant status or an undocumented status will probably show up in here really well. This one might be less successful. You can see the big ones are my favorite. PsycInfo, individual psychology, these are going to be really great. Public policy, that one's going to be great. So let's focus on those three. So in sociological abstracts, I'm going to break it out into concepts, and I'm going to do rape or rape recovery. And it's fine to have that anywhere. And I'm going to do immigrant or immigration or oh, here's a whole bunch of synonyms. Refugee. undocumented worker, undocumented student. I mean, you get the idea. This is where you would put kind of the identity of the population that we're looking at. There's probably a whole bunch of other ways of talking about it, maybe like age range or things like that, but this is just to get us started. Oh, and here's a peer-reviewed checkbox, so we can just get down to the good stuff. I'm going to modify the search as we go, but sometimes when I'm brainstorming, this is how I would start. So you might know keywords. So I'll go back and modify this search, but again, in the spirit of looking up ideas, we get ideas like victimization. That might be like a trauma that rape falls under. So you can see there's crime, refugee status, violence against women. There's a whole bunch of different ideas, but you can narrow down by looking at all the subjects. In sociological abstracts, this will probably go by population. So there's gender, refugees. There's particular contexts. One thing that I recommend, though, is since you already have some ideas, go to Modify Search. You can add a row. Ooh, I didn't think about this one. You can add different terms as you go. But for this next one, this is where we could put in some of those ideas like trauma-informed care or implicit bias. Let's look at implicit bias. So implicit bias gets very specific. So we've got this, which is specific about the trauma, the problem. This is more about the population, but this is where we can start picking apart these specific things. So we could also look at like urban versus rural, but let's see if implicit bias shows up. Ooh, there's only 30, but this is maybe what we're looking for. Let me try to modify the search, and let me put geographic or rural or urban. So now we're looking at like a place and where they're talking about the things that we mentioned above. Sociological abstracts is all about the geography. Yeah, so that should help. And also, do you have to narrow down by certain dates? Don't forget you can skip all the old stuff. And that'll trim us down quite a bit. Yeah, down to 846. And from this, you can go into the subjects too. Ooh, racism. I didn't mean to sound like I was enthused by racism. Racism, or wouldn't be segregation, but it might be. Oh, discrimination. Oh, there's prejudice. People don't talk about that as much. They usually say racism or discrimination these days. Prejudice is kind of like a light version of that. What if we add like a place? Let's add a row. And let's do Rape Recovery Center or hospital or shelter. So we could think of like a place that you're going to and add a context in that way. What else do we have? Discrimination. Ooh, this is hard to read. I just read the term victim blaming, where I'm just like, it's hard to be objective, but we look at the reason, the rationale that people use. I'm waiting for it to search, but then I'm going to move on to the next part. Okay, 3 and 69. Gender violence. By the way, if you want to find out, if you want to promote any of these things, so we want this to be, this is probably the most important, and this is also the most important. You can promote this to the abstract and say, and then these other ones can show up anywhere else. That'll narrow it down. Ooh, that narrowed it down profoundly. Oh, there's a particular population. So let's look at this one. I want to look for immigration. Maybe I want to see, I'll put this back in anywhere, but I want my population to be in the title, because I want my population to be the most important thing. Okay, 135. Health impact of structural racism in U.S. immigration prisons. Okay. When you're doing a scholarly article in your assignment, it said, oh, where did that go? I've lost it. I don't want to open it up because all these videos are de-identified. But it said that you have to find articles to support what you wanted to say. So you're saying something as a narrative where somebody won't understand something to they will understand something by the time they read your presentation or your paper. And the scholarly articles support with evidence-based articles one moment. So this one might talk about structural racism. Another one might talk about something else. So you're not going to find an article that talks about everything, but just the little pieces. What does it mean to be an immigrant? What does it mean to have immigrant status? Those might be separate articles that don't even talk about sexual assault and things like that. But what you can do is you can grab citations. And this one is APA, but it's incorrect, so you have to check. So this one should be sentence case, where the A is capitalized, but R is lowercase, A is lowercase, health impact, structural racism, all those should be lowercase. But it's pretty close. Another thing is when you're going into the article, they'll come to the point really quickly. So you can say, we argue that ending the practice of something is the most effective solution to mitigating its harms. Ooh, community-based programs are less expensive than imprisonment. So they're backing up ideas that if you read maybe just like a page or two, you can get an impression of what they want to say in the rest of the article, where they'll be producing a lot of background information and new data, maybe government data, and then churning through that data. So don't feel like you have to read the whole thing. And then what you can do is, as you state your narrative of the story where you're talking about different ideas, you can supplement them with articles and quotes or paraphrases and things like that. I want to do, excuse me, I want to show you another database. How deep did I go into this? There we go. PsycInfo, that's going to be the individual. So sociological abstracts is going to be looking at large populations, maybe intersecting with other populations. PsycInfo is going to be great for, what does it feel like? Let's do rape and recovery and immigrant. So do you see these ands here? I just took, in the last one, I had recovery down there and immigrant down there, but I can type it in a single phrase. But now when we're in psychology, this is going to be more of the personal experience. So it's going to be less about huge populations, more going to be about somebody examining their own life, maybe like a case study. But these are still scholarly. That one looks harrowing, but it might give you some of those firsthand experiences or primary sources that you're looking for. PAIS, this is going to be like an intervention. Ooh, there's my whole search is already set up in the advanced search. Where did it go? Let me try my search. So instead of looking at sociology, this is looking at public policy, where they're looking at, oh, this is the same article. This one's going to be looking at solutions that people have tried. So here you can see it's a case study of what they did during the Armenian genocide. There's a shelter. So a lot of these are going to be case studies. But these are all going to be really good from the public policy aspect. And lastly, you can go into like examinations of rape recovery programs through nursing. We could just see, what does rape recovery look like? So this is in the hospital, and this is nursing. And we can see, so there's a particular intervention. There's another intervention with religion. Oh, whoa. faith hindered acknowledgement. So that might be more of a case study. Case study. Here's a case study analysis, and here's maybe, this one's from 2006. So there's a whole bunch of different ideas, and you can just try the same keywords in some of these different databases. Okay, let me know how it goes, but essentially you should be kind of like walking somebody through your narrative, and it's supplemented by a scholarly article here, and you're bringing it together with the words that you write. That's what I was going to say when we met together. But let me know how it goes, and I'm still very happy to meet.